cancer? And the answer to the question is she actively at work at a regularly scheduled job and hours? Well, yeah. Then the answer is yes, because we won't ask a medical question. And as I presented this to the vice president of the bank, he called her out, but specifically, he's like, "You're telling me this person, I think her name was Sharon, but you're telling me Sharon, who you guys know's got cancer because you're filing Aflac cancer claims for her. You know she's got cancer. You're telling me she can buy $150,000 of life insurance?" And the answer is yeah, because we never even ask him a cancer. I never ask her a cancer question. So that's where there's a lot of power. So if you think about the groups you guys work on, there is opportunity in those groups too. If you're dealing with significant claims somewhere and they are still working, so just something to think about. But that's where it is super valuable to clients.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. So that GI amount is a big deal. The other piece of the guarantee issue side that really helps us drive participation is something they call the guarantee issue remainder. Just before this call, I ran a DM with one of our SAEs, and this piece is something that really stood out to her. So what that means is it's guarantee issue only the first time it's made available to those employees. So for existing employees, it's when we first roll it in. For new hires, it's in their new hire enrollment window. That's when it's available. But what happens is, as long as they participate in the base minimum coverage the first time it's available, they forever, as long as they work for that employer, can opt into the max amount in the future, but with no underwriting. So let me give you an example of that. So let's say this year I'm strapped for cash, right? And I would love to max it. I'd love to get 150K, but it's not in my cards this year. You know, oftentimes you come across that with an employer group, and they're like, "Oh, well, you know what? Next year I'll participate." You know, now you can say, "Well, I get that. You definitely want to participate this year, though, at least in base minimum. I'm 43 years old. 10K in coverage for me is $12 a month, right? So if I opt into that, I buy the 10,000 in coverage. Heaven forbid, 9 months from now, I get diagnosed from cancer. I can turn around and go, gosh, dang, you know what? My life circumstances just changed dramatically. I'm going to go ahead and opt into that 150K now. I can do that as long as I can answer that question, are you still actively at work doing your normal duties, right? And so that's a huge, huge feature. It really helps. One, employees love it, obviously. They can get something. It's great leverage for us when we're talking to employers to get conditions that we like to bring up. Hey, you know what? Let's be fair to everybody. Make sure everyone has a chance to be educated on it, because yeah, they may be down this year on funds, but in the future, maybe their life circumstances change, but at least they're protecting themselves. They'll be able to get that max amount further down the road if they need to. So really unique feature to the guarantee issue side of things. It's been a huge door opener for us, for sure. It is portable, and something that's unique with this, you Aflackers know this, that Aflac's coverage portable after they pay their first invoice, right? This coverage is portable after application. So let's say if I apply today, I sign my application today, but it's effective September 1, and I get a new job offer tomorrow that I take. I can port that coverage from that point moving forward, even though it's not even effective until 9/1, and the first payment wouldn't even be until 10/1. I can port that coverage, which is pretty awesome, at the same rate, at the same payroll rate. So if people port it, it still grows its cash value and all of those fun kind of things. So the guarantee issue side, here's what I love about this plan as well, is it speaks to all age groups. So the guarantee issue side, I would say people 40 and above, it speaks to, because it's so easy to be knocked ineligible for life insurance these days. It doesn't take much, right? So if anyone's had any kind of ailment, they're going to qualify, and we get participation. For folks in their 20s, 30s, early 40s, the younger millennials, the Gen Zers, ownership is a really big deal. I just saw a really interesting infographic last week about home ownership. So home ownership for people in their 30s, it's dropped to an all-time low of about 12%, which is crazy. So 12% of people in their 30s own a home, versus about 55% 50 years ago. So ownership is a big deal, right? And so Most folks, you guys know this, you probably use this in your Aflac sales. The average American has less than $1,000 in savings, right? And so if they're on that path where they want to be able to save some money for something, it could be a home ownership or whatever, most people aren't on a good path to do that. In fact, I leverage that when I present this. So my favorite story in Chanel, you could probably repeat this now. I think you probably heard this from like 3 times from me. But my favorite example of this was a small little 10 life case that I presented to in February. So it was a 10 life beauty salon. Hardly the demographic that life insurance salespeople target, right? So in that group, there were two owners in their early 30s. The rest were in their mid 20s. And so I asked this question, when I'm presenting to the 10 gals, is that how many of you feel like life insurance is really important? The 2 owners raise their hands, right? The other 8 gals, the stylists, they don't raise their hands at all. They're in their early mid 20s. They're invincible. They don't care. So then I asked the question, how many of you would like to own a home one day? And all their hands go up, So then I asked the question, how many of you feel like you're going to be in a great spot to own a home or purchase a home here in the next few years? And their hands don't instantly drop, but they slowly lower as you can see the hamster wheels turning in their heads, right? Like, how am I going to be able to do that? So then I jump into the savings side of it. I go, well, if you're like most Americans, you don't save money very well. You probably have less than $1,000 in savings, but like most people, if your money's out of sight, it's out of mind, you don't spend it. And so this is a great way to be able to do that. And so the way this plan works is it grows your cash value at a tick of 3.75%. Which is not too shabby. It's not like mind-blowing, but it's not bad. But the kicker is this piece, is the dividend. And so that dividend, what that does is at the end of the year, they take your cash value that you've accrued, and they take your premiums that you've paid into the plan for that year, and they add those numbers together. And they take 6% of that number, whatever that is, and they add it back into your cash value, and they do the same thing with your death benefit. So your death benefit increases every single year, even though you're paying steady premium, but you're growing your cash value at a rate of 6% plus every single year. And so for most people, right around the year 8 mark, their cash value has grown and it now exceeds anything that they'll ever put into the plan, which is great. Meaning they'll get more from the plan at that point forward than they ever put into it, which is remarkable. So they can tap into their cash value anytime they need to. No penalty. If they need to use it for a down payment, awesome. If they need to use it for a home renovation, awesome. If they want to use it just for a Hawaiian vacation, awesome. They can do a loan against it if they want to through Mass Mutual, which it's an 8% interest loan. They could do that. That way their cash value continues to grow. But it's a remarkable tool for folks to be able to grow that cash value. So that's where typically we see a lot of participation. The younger crowd, we see it because of the financial investment side of things. The aging demographics, we see it because of the guarantee issue side. And so when you add both of those things together, we get quite a bit of participation. I wouldn't say it shocks employers, because most employers, when we share it with them, they're excited about it too. So questions to that point? I've been yammering on here for quite a bit. No? Good? All right. The last benefit I think is a really unique one. It's very cool. It's the chronic care benefit. So they built this into it. It's not a rider or anything like that. It's just built into it to address the long-term care issue. So there's roughly 13,000 people hitting retirement age a day across America, and long-term care is becoming a hot topic again. And so they built this into it to address that and some. So what this means is if the policyholder is diagnosed with at least 2 ADLs, so they lose 2 activities of daily life, then they can take up to 75% of the death benefit in a lump sum advance. And that's really unique, by the way, because most plans, if they have something like that built into it, so that one that Dave and I were reviewing this morning, competitors, they'll allot a percentage. So say the one that we were looking at this morning, they will allot 4% of the death benefit to go to hospice care, 4% of it to go to home health care, 4% for this, that, and the other thing. Whereas this one will just give you a lump sum. Do what you want with it. If you lost 2 ADLs, That stinks. Let's go ahead and let you use your life insurance while you're alive, and so you could pay for your home care facility, a home health nurse. You could take your family on a cruise around the world if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do, it's yours, which is really unique and it's pretty cool. So, questions to that point, guys and gals? All right. I'm going to jump into the offers. Well, meaning I'm going to turn that to Dave to talk about the offers because you guys are sick of hearing my chain smoker voice. Dave,
Happily.
knock it away.
Guys,
Yeah.
guys, I want to highlight a couple things as Paul just talked about how unique this product is in the marketplace. You know, this truly was an executive only level benefit. This was only available to the C-suite employees until 2017, about when Jesse first engaged with Mass Mutual. Um, and so, we were literally an hour ago comparing Unum's best, kind of their best and brightest group term life to this. And this thing shines so bright over that. The dividends are such a huge, huge deal. I mean, a huge deal. Unum's best and brightest GI plan has a 10-year wait before they can access the cash value. This doesn't have a 10-year wait. Their pre-ex, if they accelerated death benefit, they can get 4% for assisted living, 4% for nursing home care, 4%. And then with Mass Mutuals, they can get 75% of this right up front. So, I mean, there is a big gulf between what this product looks like and really what the rest of the marketplace looks like. And when you get down to what our underwriting offer looks like, it shines even brighter, guys. So for groups between 10 and 24 lives, and guys, this is eligible lives. They do not have to be regular benefits eligible. If the employer deems them eligible, regardless of the number of hours they work, if an employer wants them to get this product, they get this product. So if somebody only works 5 hours a week, like my lady at the bank, 5 hours a week's eligible. There is no hour limitation, right? It's pretty cool. So part-timers, totally eligible if the employer wants to make them eligible. So from 10 to 24, they get $75,000 GI. And they can buy up to $250,000 with one underwriting question. It's a 2 year look back underwriting question. Paul will show that in just a minute. So 10 to 24, 75 Gs, 25 to 99, they get 100 grand guaranteed issue. Again, they can buy a certificate all the way up to 250 on that one as well. And anything over 100 lives is 150 grand at GI. We have another unique component to our offer that really makes us unique because there are other brokers that have a really similar offer to this, but this one makes us really shine. So if you've got employers with 5 to 10 employees, if we get employer paid, we can get them 75 grand if it's employer paid. And I want to put a little perspective on that, guys, of what an average employer pays. The average employer, when they're funding this for somebody, is costing them 21 cents an hour. So I want to take a 5 life group. So a 5 life group, 5 employees working 40 hours a week, right? You guys can't see it, but 200 hours, right? 200 times 21 cents an hour. That's $42 a week, gang. $42. That's the cost of a 5 life group, an employer buying coffee and donuts on Fridays for their team. Instead, they could buy them this amazing product with cash value and dividends. So 5 to 10 lives, 75 grand, all the way up, really up to 25 lives, and then we start jumping up. Guys, there are some minimums. We got to get 5 apps. So in that 10 to 24 pool, we got to get 5 apps. If it's that 25 to 99, we need 10 apps or 10,000 in premium. But 5 is always the minimum threshold, right? So if something's real close, we can make a good argument. We put enough volume in with Mass Mutual that we can go after an exception. But really, guys, when you get an opportunity to enroll and you're knee to knee, we're not really concerned about it. We know that when you guys get in front of them, it's a really easy product. It is a product that really you're just dialing in what price fits people, what feels good for them on a price. It's not nearly, you're not twisting arms on this one. It's pretty cool. All right, Paul, back to you, bud.
Awesome. Questions on that, guys? It's pretty straightforward. So one thing, Dave started this off, if you guys remember, in his beautiful storytelling, was in talking about how our strategy has been to reactivate cases, which we were just on with Michigan team this morning. The average case we've reactivated with that group is 71 months inactive, which is nuts. 294 of them so far. But this isn't only for those groups, by the way. So if you have groups, you're looking at cases in the second half of this year, and you go, shoot, I would love to get access into that, or I would love to bring in something shiny and new to them, you can certainly do that. It's a pretty easy process. All you need to do is kick me the business name, address, number of employees. I can get your proposal, and then we can walk you through how to do that. But it is really easy. So just keep that in mind. That's what the offer would be for any of those cases. So Dave mentioned the underwriting, super, super easy. So there are 2 questions that you ask. I know I said there's only one guarantee issue question, but there is a tobacco question, which is not a knockout. It's just a rating question. So any tobacco use in the last 12 months. One thing that's unique with this, though, is say you're talking to an employee and they say, man, I'm trying to quit. I'm trying to knock it. I've been 6 months tobacco free. Well, next year's open enrollment, you can re-rate them. So if they come back and now it's been more than 12 months tobacco free, we can re-rate them and drop them down to a non-tobacco rate in the future, which is cool. So they're not locked into that for life, but you have to ask that question, any tobacco. Then there's like that guarantee issue question. So confirm that you're actively working your usual normal job without any limitation or blah, blah. You guys can see it. So are you actively at work doing your normal job? Basically is what it is. So that unlocks the GI amount. The only time you have to ask that question below, that third question, is if they want to purchase coverage that exceeds the guarantee issue amount for that group. So if I have a group that the GI amount is 75 and they want to buy 250, I've got to ask them that question. So the question, you can see it, the last 2 years, sought treatment for, been diagnosed or treated for any of those 10 things. So I ran through this morning on that proposal that I was telling you guys about with the gal, and she was curious about 250 for herself. So she wanted to see that question. So I showed her the question. I said, well, that's it. She goes, oh, well, as far as I know, none of my employees have to deal with that. So they can all get 250. And he's like, yep, they absolutely can. So that's the one underwriting question that's asked. But again, only if their desired coverage amount exceeds what that GI amount is. So, okay. Moving on, unless there's questions. Guys, if you have questions, feel free to either interrupt us, because Dave and I interrupt each other all the time. We're brothers. Or just go ahead and put it in the chat, and one of us will interrupt the other to ask the question for you. This is how. Okay, let me jump into the actual enrollment here. All right. So more often than not, we enroll on Celerix. So are you guys familiar with Celerix at all, or Aflac at Work, if you've enrolled on that before? Okay, can't tell, but that's what it is. So super simple. So we do need a little bit of a runway, just so you guys know. So it's not like Everwell, where we can present to an employer today and we can tee up an enrollment tomorrow. Typically we want, McWorld, we want about 9 business days heads up to be able to get the NASA form filled out to make the product eligible and available, and to build it out in Celerix. But usually we can do that in a much shorter time than that if we need to. We just don't like to. We like to make sure it's set up properly. So when that happens, when you have a case and it's built out, you'll get an email from the Mass Mutual team, and it will give you your username and a temporary password to log in with a link to this site. So when you come to this site, it looks just like this. You put in your username and you put in your temporary password, and then it's going to cue you to create a new password. So this is important to note. You use your password a lot. So don't make it something crazy. Don't make it something that's, the Chrome suggested password or whatever, because that is how you sign an application, is by putting in your password. So moving on, once you log into the system, it will take you to the cases welcome site. So just give you the plan years on the case. It's going to tell you what plan options are available. So this plan is showing there's a portion that's employer paid and there's a portion that's buy up voluntary. Once you click next, it will show you where our list of employees. You can pull that employee up. You just basically confirm their information is correct. If it's a new employee, you just add them and you type it in. It's really basic stuff. Then it takes you to the dependent side. So I do suggest you grab the dependent's info at this point, or at least the spouse, because whoever you put in here as the dependent is going to be the default beneficiary in the future. So if you put their spouse in there, you won't have to data enter it later in the application. But this will also unlock your ability to offer the $25,000 plan to spouse and children, which is pretty nice. So you put that in there, and then it's going to bring you to the page of which benefits do you want to enroll in. So if there is employer paid with buy up, you do have to fill out 2 applications, but you'll know all the information and it ports over. So it's really fast. So you don't have to worry about that. But in most cases, if you're just doing voluntary, it's only going to show this piece right here. So you click that radio button, you hit next, and it's going to take you into the application. This plan can be self-enrolled. We don't suggest it because you know how participation goes with self-enrollment. Not very good. But if it is self-enrolled, there's a little 3-minute video right here that they can watch. There's key features, so it highlights the guarantee issue, it highlights the dividend, and all of those fun kind of things. So you just simply scroll down. It's going to give you those 3 questions. So the first one you have to ask, right? Tobacco use. Second one you have to ask, right? Are you actively at work? Okay, great. When do we have to ask this third question? Does anyone remember? If you said only if they're exceeding the GI amount, then you are correct. So you only have to ask that question.
Wow, you guys all jumped up to answer that one really quick.
I know. I'm such a dynamic presenter today. That's why. They're just matching my energy level. So you only have to ask that question if they're going over the GI amount. You still have to answer it though. So the system won't let you advance if you leave it blank. Right? And so if they're not going over the GI amount, just mark no and move forward. So, because it's not going to matter, it's irrelevant if they're not going over the GI amount, but just to satisfy the system. So you go there, and then it's going to take you into the actual rating table. So what Solarix does is it takes the most popular plans in terms of purchasing and the benefit size, or amount, sorry. Most people I find, they have no idea how much they want. They don't know. They don't know how much it costs even. So the way I like to give an anchor point in selling this piece is I will usually ask people, or I'll tell people, if I'm talking to you, Valerie, I say, Valerie, I'm not a financial advisor, but I do know that most financial advisors suggest that you invest about 10% of your income into yourself. So are you contributing to your 401k or anything like that? I find that info out. So say they're contributing 5% into their 401k. So I go, awesome, Valerie, you're solid. You got 5% going there. Let's see what 5% would look like for you if you were to invest it into this, because remember, you're going to be growing that 5% by 6 to 9%. So we can just simply figure that out. So, let's say let's say just keep math simple, you make 100 grand, 100 grand a year, 5% of that, of course, is $5,000. So if we did 5K divided by 12, there you go, $416 a month. That could be a big investment, right? But that's where I'll ask that question. So Valerie, to really max 5% here, that would look like $400 a month. Is that something that you would feel comfortable with? Is usually how I'll ask that question. Darren, you're moving your camera around. Does that mean you have a question? No? All right. So that's usually where I'll start. And life insurance is actually an emotional buy, so just keep that in mind. They're thinking of leaving something behind for their loved ones. So I like to use emotional words. So how would that feel? Does $400 a month feel comfortable to you, Valerie? You want to go above, below that? But usually that's a good starting point, because then you can work backwards, right? So sometimes they'll say, well, I can't afford $400 a month. How about $200? So then you can type in right here, I could type in how much would $200 a month get her. I can calculate it. It will pop it up right here. That sounds great. You click the radio button and you move forward. It will show that minimum amount. So again, that minimum amount is big to be able to say, hey, I know if you're down on your luck financially this year, that's okay. Would you be able to afford $4.60 a paycheck just to make sure that you unlock that guarantee issue amount forever, as long as you're working here? Let's at least do that. That's going to at least help you drive your participation, worst case scenario. So that's usually how I go through that process. It's usually pretty easy as well. So that's the sales piece. The next is going to take you to your beneficiary, but if they want to add dependent coverage, all you've got to do is click the name of their spouse that they put in if you added them earlier. So you click their name and it's going to take you to this page. So it's going to show, all right, they are eligible for $25,000 in coverage. Great, you hit next. It's going to take you to the questions. They do have to answer all questions, by the way. Dependents are not guarantee issued. So you have to ask tobacco. They have a disability question they have to answer. Are they currently collecting disability? And then they have the 2-year look back. So you answer those, and it's a $25,000 or nothing plan. So it's not up to $25K. You can either grab $25K or you can't. So that's it. You select it. You hit next. It's going to take you into the snapshot of the benefit elections for everybody. So there's the employees coverage. There's the spouse coverage. Fantastic. You wish to confirm. You hit next. It takes you into the product feature. So this is where you can customize a little bit. So this top piece, if you guys are familiar with whole life coverage, this top piece is an automatic premium loan. All of the folks I sell do this because it's a super simple add-on and it doesn't cost anything. What it is it's lapse protection. So what happens is if you say yes, moving forward, say they leave that employer and they forget to port it, it will automatically take a loan from their cash value against their premium, or it will take a loan against their cash value to pay their premiums until they can get it back up and running. So that way it will port, they have all their cash value, all their growth stays intact, and they can keep that coverage. So it doesn't cost anything to add that feature, but it helps keep it on the books, which is great for them and us, of course. So all the people that I sign up, I have them do that. The second one is how they want their dividend paid out. So again, remember the dividend pays 6 to 7% typically. So the 100% of my folks do that number one option, which is the way we explained it, where it takes it, adds it to the cash value, adds it to the death benefit. That's the paid up addition, the default. They can take it and have it accumulate in a separate account. I don't know why they would do that. It's not an interest-bearing account to my knowledge, and so it's socking it away, which I guess is better than nothing. And then the third option is for the spenders. They can take a dividend check at the end of every year. So again, all of my folks just take that number one option. You do have this goofy question. I don't really know why this is in here, but this is an easy way to answer this. If they are an American citizen or they're a legal resident, the answer is no. The only time this would be a yes is if they're not a legal citizen and the employer would be responsible for paying their taxes if they died. So kind of a funky question. So just know if they're an American citizen or they're a legal resident, awesome. That's a no. So moving on, we have two simple disclosures. The first one is they acknowledge that they answered all questions correctly, and truthfully. That's the acknowledgement. Second acknowledgement is an e-signature and their documents being sent to them electronically. If they agree to that, the signature on this, you guys are going to love it because it's ridiculously easy. There's only one person that has to sign, and that's you, as the producer, signs and vouches that they want to apply for this coverage. So when you hit next here and the signature comes up, all that you do is you type in your PIN number, which is your password to get into Celerix, and the app is done. That's it. So after you type in your name, then it's going to give you a little bit of a PDA, so they get to see what that is. There's a little blue button down here you can click, and you can email it to them. They will also get an email with all of their coverage when it issues, and that's that. So it's a pretty simple process. to enroll. I believe Dave put that in the chat, or maybe Bo, you put that in the chat. Yes. Okay. So what I was clicking through is actually an 8-minute video.
Paul, I put the links to the video, I put our emails in, and then I also linked to our agent resources page on our webpage where all the Mass Mutual, the videos are, and the documents are.
Awesome. So if you guys click that link that Dave put in that says Solarix, you'll have access to this video. So if you ever need it, you can just click through it again, just like I did. The other link that he posted, if you guys want any of this information that we just shared, the deck, it's in that second link that Dave posted. But you go to our website, onesolutionagency.com, agent resources, under our training, we have all of our carriers. So just click Mass Mutual, and you've got the video that's on the main video that's on the enrollment. You have the slideshow that we just shared with you guys. You can download that if you want to. Jesse did an amazing job here. These are some simple little videos. He had Dave and myself in mind, our ADHD brains going on when he built these. So these are, how long are these, Jesse? They're like 50 seconds long.
Yeah, maybe a minute. So I forget. Yeah, about a
Yeah, I'll
minute.
play one. So you guys have access to these. So say if you have a case, we have a case right now where an agent's enrolling where that is really difficult to get access. So we email these videos out, and so you can just share these little videos.
Everyone works hard for different reasons. To protect loved ones, save for the future, or just feel secure.
With Mass Mutual's Whole Life, employees can get guaranteed coverage up to $75,000. No medical questions, no exam, and stays with you if you leave your job.
It grows cash value, earns dividends, and gives you the power to protect your spouse or children too. Even if life throws a curveball, you can still increase your protection. Whether you're 20 or 70 years old, this is a financial safety net. A small payroll deduction today for lifelong peace of mind. Don't miss your one chance to enroll. No medical questions. Guaranteed.
So that's it. So pretty awesome. You have access to all of that. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions that any of you guys have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that they're portable. Is that at the same price, the premium price?
Yep, it is. Yep, it remains the same.
Okay, awesome.
It's also the same price if it's employer paid or voluntary. Just so you know, so the price is kind of the price. So once you get a group quote done, Valerie, you'll be able to actually really apply that price to any group.
Okay.
So the price is the price, and once the offer is made, that's the price, and that's it. That's the way it goes. So it's very clean.
But so it is portable, and the price stays the same, just like
Correct.
our
Correct.
Yep.
all of
Yep.
our. Okay. I have another question. I have a couple accounts in mind, but they're listed as payroll DBX, so
Yeah, no problem.
Will that work as well?
Yep,
100%.
direct bill. Yep, super easy to
Okay.
get direct bill. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Valerie, just need to know when we do the set.